Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and today I am covering the best and worst films of 2022. There's a list of films on here I have not seen, that's what these are. I have not seen Elvis, I've heard that's great. I've heard Bros is very funny. I've heard that Northman is epic. What else have I heard? The Outfit's great. The Whale, which is just, it's a limited release, and my girlfriend's out of town, so when it finally got released, I wasn't able to see it. What else is on this list? Strange Worlds, just because it didn't look that interesting. Beast, because, hey, it's a monster movie. I have it downstairs, like Elvis. I just haven't got around to seeing it. Jackass Forever, just because it looks funny. But it's one of those films I want to see with a group of friends. Dog just looks like a good time. As a Black Phone, a great horror movie from everything I've heard, just haven't seen it. So, a lot of good films and bad films I haven't seen. But I have, at least say, I did at least watch 48 films. So I can at least say I watched a good chunk. Some of these are great, some of these are not so great, but I think there's a good assortment here, and I'll let you guys know my opinion on that as we go through it. Note, my opinion does not mean that it is definitive. If you have your own opinion on these films, leave your comments down below. But let's get to it. I'm going to keep it very brief for each of these movies. So let's get through each one in a decent time frame. I saw this in theaters. Of course, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I adore this movie. This film is easily in my top. It was in my top 5 for most of the year, but I'm going to put it at very good because I'm only going to put for peak cinema my 5 favorite films of the year. Right? Everything else will go below. What does it have going for it? Nicolas Cage is fantastic. Pedro Pascal is great. The editing in it is top notch in terms of the cuts. The Paddington 2 references are hilarious, and just all the cinema references from the Cottage of it's the Cottage of Caligari. It's a very old film, but again, I watched it in cinema class, so I knew that reference. All the Nicolas Cage films, the changing plot from a man writing to a drama to actuality being in a drama and then an action movie. I think it has a great core concept that just doesn't really take its main character not just too seriously, but it doesn't glorize that character, right? It doesn't make it so that it's just a haha, look at all the fun things Nicolas Cage has done over his life. No, that's not the case. It's honestly a solid film that so happens to be about an actor named Nicolas Cage, who's being played by Nicolas Cage. I really adored it. All right, a movie that I don't really have too much to say. Samaritan, it's okay. Honestly, it's a generic superhero film. It's at the bottom end of it's fine. I think I might put this a little lower. There's some sequences in the action department that are fine. And there's an idea in it that's okay, like toward the twist, which deals with the main character by Sylvester Stallone. But overall, I think especially in the series, you know what? The problem is it's just not that interesting, right? It just kind of is like, okay, when there's an action sequence, it might be interesting depending on the shot, but it's so bad. I actually kind of want to move that a little further down. There we go. I'm just gonna put it's just bad. So bad it's fun is for a movie that is, again, does everything so wrong that in my opinion it makes it good, right? It's kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum. It's a negative number, but it makes it positive, and that is Moonfall. Moonfall, I think, is I saw it twice. I have it on 4K Blu-ray. I enjoyed it. That's right, I bought this film on Blu-ray, and you know what? I bought it for my girlfriend, and she honestly was so happy because I saw this in theaters with my girlfriend. I knew it was terrible, but I had a great time watching it, just how stupid it was, and I met Double Toasted through this movie, so that was really cool. But anyway, point being, it's so bad. I think it's probably the worst movie of the year in terms of its so bad quality. But even when I left the theater, I wasn't disappointed. I was actually kind of happy by how everything went, because I was like, that was a bad movie. But at least I had fun during it. So yeah, it's so bad. In my opinion, it's so bad, it's fun. The Batman. This is, right now I'm going to leave it at peak cinema, but this is by far one of the best looking Gothams, if not the best looking Gotham I can think of, especially like the atmosphere, his effect on criminals The Joker in the Joker movie, I thought had a great effect on criminals. I didn't prefer his Joker though. Nothing against the actor, that's just me. In this, it took me a while to like get what I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the story, the detective atmosphere, the slow burn. Has some good comedic chops, some great action sequences. The third act is a little bit weaker than the rest, but I still think the movie was a great time, and I really enjoyed the detective aspect of Batman and the grimy really like decadence of Gotham. That's what I really enjoyed about this. Another film that shows grime and all sorts of terrible stuff is All Quiet on the Western Front. This is a fantastic war film that shows how dark and depressing World War I was. I think it's a good counter to 1917, because it's funny, this film takes place 1917 but more 1918, and I feel like this is just more of the slow sort of like darkness and tragedy that is World War I. You do get to see some of the political actors trying to get an armistice, but mostly it's a soldier's perspective, and I love how as it goes on, you just get the characters just get filled with more and more despair about what's going on. Sure, they do change the book, and you can make a good argument that it's not as good as the original remake in the 30s, but overall, I still had a fantastic time enjoying this movie. Even though I left this movie not in a great mood. It will impact you greatly, but I still think that I was just impressed by the effects, the World War I action sequences, all this stuff, because it looks so damn good, especially for its budget. So I tip my hat off to the filmmakers, the set designers, really the actors in play, because man, you feel like you're in a trench in World War I, and that takes a lot. Anyway, we got RRR. This is a pure action film at its finest. I think it's a little bit too long, but you can't say that the action sequences aren't incredible. The sequence that was them running in, was it the lake? No, it's the river. Sorry. While after they saved the boy with a flag, and they're just running to high five each other, is one of the funniest and just amazing things. Like, again, these two, the two main leads have an amazing chemistry. The fight with the tiger and then subsequent animal attack and like, oh god, is it midway through, I think, is just great. There's a lot of amazing sequences in this movie. And again, there's a good core dynamic between like an amazing friendship between the two. So I can't deny how amazing this film was. I do want to show it to my friends because I feel like they would just have a blast with it, but my gripe is I think it's a bit too long, and I think that maybe sometimes, because there's so many action sequences, I'm not saying it can burn you out, but for me, it's like, how do I put this? It's just like, it just keeps going, and if you don't expect you're going to be sitting there for 3 hours of action sequences, it might get you. Now, again, it is on Netflix, so this is a great thing to like, hey, part 1, part 2, that way you can enjoy the action sequences and you don't get maybe necessarily burned out. It's kind of like how I feel with another movie on this list, Avatar. Actually, I'll get to that, where I think that it is visually impressive and the story is more so-so, but overall, wait, where's Avatar? All right, I found it. Anyway, Avatar: The Way of Water. This one's weird. Visually, this movie is spectacular. I'm not going to deny, but the problem is I was so astounded by the visual effects. The story is fine. I don't think it's an incredible story. I think the characters are good, and I think they do a very good job of really making sure this family feels unique, right? But, and I do think they add more layers to the world of Pandora, what's going on. But it does feel like a sequel that doesn't have a definitive end, honestly. That's my personal opinion, because, well, the story stuff is fine. I feel like this is, you could very easily see this as a side plot. In the main plot, they kind of just, I don't want to say ignore, but they kind of just like leave it, I'm assuming for part 3. But again, it's visually, your eyes are feasting at all the gorgeous visuals, but again, it gets tiresome after a while, and toward the end, I was just exhausted. But I think RRR, for being, again, about the same length, I think it held up way better. So that's me, in terms of where that 3 hour picture is. All right. Was it Ambulance? I want to say LA Ambulance, but no, it's Ambulance. I didn't care for this. The drone shots were a bit weird. I mean, the characters are fine, but I just didn't find it all that interesting. And again, for Michael Bay has never, or has not interested me since the first Transformers movie. unless I'm forgetting something. I don't think Michael Bay has made a good movie. Maybe 13 hours? I think he did that, right? But otherwise, he's pretty much done the Six Underground, which I dropped. I had to stop. And then the Transformers 4 and 5, which are absolute trash. So yeah, it did not fare very well. It's an action spectacle with a chase, and it just gets repetitive. And again, I cannot stress how much I do not like the drone shots in it. And just a lot of how it's shot, it just makes it, I don't know, I just did not care. And the characters are fine, but there's nothing memorable, in my opinion. But again, I do think it's better than this. The 355, I am honestly leaving in absolute garbage, because it is. It is absolute garbage. I'm not moving it. I'm not moving that movie. If I'm thinking a movie that's so bad, then it's that, because I truly think that there's not much, if any, redeemable. The characters, all the actresses that are in this main lead are better elsewhere. There's no core defining characters to them. You can see every twist coming a mile away. It gets needlessly dark for no reason, and yeah, it's just kind of painful to watch. So I don't really care. Next up, Wakanda. Very good. I did thoroughly enjoy it. That being said, I do feel you can feel Chadwick Boseman's presence missing from it, and that's both the actor and, of course, the character of T'Challa. But I still think they did the best what they can. The villain's great, not as good as Killmonger, but still a great villain. I thought the core dynamic was good. The ending I feel like is not as good as the first two parts, but I still thought it was a solid movie, and I think I had a good time with it. The Sea Beast. The Sea Beast is one of those unexpected films. And it was in my top 10 for a while for animated films. I was surprised by how much I like this. How dark they get with a lot of the monsters, but still have it very, swashbuckling adventure, but still you're adding more and more layers. The problem with it is the main creature looks like a lot like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, which it's not as original as it could be. You'll see it with the eyes and the face. I know it's blocked by the horn, but it looks like a version of Toothless. Which is fine, but again, it doesn't make it as memorable as How to Train Your Dragon when you're copying a similar design. And the ending, I feel like, is the last third does not stack up to the first 2/3. I thought the first 2/3 were pretty good. But again, I think it's a solid kids film, and I do recommend it. Black Adam has some decent action sequences, but I did not care. I do find it funny how they made The Rock look smaller. It's like the opposite of what Chris Evans, where they make him bigger with the CGI. But no, it was fine. I liked Hawkman and Dr. Fate, but and there was some decent comedic chops with what's his name? The character that can grow large and stuff. I forget. Adam? No, it's Black Adam. And then you have, oh god, I forget his name. But anyway, the person that can get big, I thought he had a couple laughs. But the other person in their group, I wanted there to be something a little bit more, but there wasn't. Really, the best parts were usually how Black Adam would just murder people, and then it would just come back to bite him. I love how the best way that they could emphasize maybe you shouldn't kill people is not for the morality of it. It's more just logistically. Hey, maybe you shouldn't kill that guy because he could give you info. Oh, where is he? And it comes down. It's those moments that I actually had the most laughter with. But the villain is also incredibly generic. It's another DC giant monster fight, and it just is boring and dumb. That's my general thing, is you're gonna have this big CGI fight, and I get it, it's black. You're gonna fight Black Adam. You're gonna fight someone that is on par in some capacity with Superman, right? Well, that kind of makes sense to have it another character that can fight, but it's just, I don't know, build up the villain more, because they just weren't built up, and it was just kind of mediocre. What wasn't mediocre is Glass Onion. I had a great time with Glass Onion. Glass Onion is a fantastic murder mystery. The sequel to Knives Out. I thought all the core characters were great, really well developed. I thought the banter between all of them was solid. I thought the mystery aspect, especially how things got revealed, was really well done. I did not guess. I guessed who what the killer was in Knives Out. I didn't guess Glass Onion, and I know some people said it was obvious. To me, it wasn't, because I thought it was going to be something more in lines of Murder on the Orient Express, where everyone's in on it. That was my thought process in it, but nope. It's actually, the best way to put it was how someone actually referenced me, and I love how Among Us is in this movie and how it's kind of used to foreshadow everything that's going to happen. Again, very subtle in terms of, like, if you miss that little sequence and forget about the rest of the movie, then you're probably like, oh, okay. But it is the movie pretty much an Among Us game, just as a movie. And it's pretty much an Among Us game with a character that has no idea what they're doing. That's what I loved about it. So anyway, Glass Onion's up there. Really well done. Loved it. Fantastic movie overall. And oh yeah, Daniel Craig just nails it. Super funny, but yet can be super serious in terms of him pretty much nailing everything down. I will say emotionally, it wasn't as good as Knives Out, the first one. I thought it had better emotional core, but this one I thought was way funnier, and the mystery was better. Sonic 2. I'm gonna put it as fine, or it's good. I know some people might say it's a little bit too childish. The Russian dance sequence wasn't that great, but the sequences where they fight Knuckles, I thought that Jim Carrey was fantastic. I thought overall the CGI and the battles they had with it were way better than the first movie. Like how Sonic fights a giant mech with Tails and Knuckles, I had a great time. Like I can't deny that it was easily one of my favorite films of the year. For the first half of the year, it was on my list for a good period of time. So I had a great time with this. It was a unexpected surprise. I liked 2 more than 1. Again, it had greater highs. It definitely had some weaker points, but again, Sonic 1's not exactly a great film either. But I still think I had a good time with this. And Idris Elba as Knuckles, oh god, some of the sayings he did were just, or some of his voice lines were just really well done. I enjoyed that greatly. Another film that was on the list I can't say I enjoyed that much was Father Stu. This one's fine. It's a guy who is down on his luck, doing a bunch of negative stuff, and then comes to the epiphany that he wants to be more religious. And again, there's plenty of films that do that, and they try to have a better impact, but I just felt this film was kind of just meandering a bit. And again, I get it. That's more of a real life situation. My girlfriend saw this and she kind of explained it, but so I kind of wanted to see it, and I agree with her. It's fine. It's nothing special. I think if you're looking for like a better film about faith and changing, maybe, again, for me personally, Hacksaw Ridge fits that very well, right? About showing one's faith and getting through tough scenarios through insurmountable odds, but there's plenty of films you could put through there. But anyway, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. A movie I was surprised by how much I liked was Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, I get it, has a lot of stuff and is an inferior Roger Rabbit, but it has some great moments. Ugly Sonic, just alone, I had a great time with. And again, I know a lot of people do not like the fact there's a 3D model, but it's looking like 2D, and to be fair, that impacted me. But I did like the claymation figure. Like, I did like all the different styles of animation they did put in this, like the puppet or the Muppet variant that turned out to be like pretty much a drug dealer. Like, that broke me. That was great. Also, E.T. versus Batman, like, they had weird references that I'm like, I remember that growing up from a weird like the old New Avengers show. I remember watching that and not liking it, but then they had the person from there. I'm like, oh, okay then. Sure. That's a heck of a reference. Why not? But yeah, no, I again, they have some weird references in there, but I still think it works and still think that overall it's pretty good. All right. Do Revenge. You know what? I'll be honest. I'll put this under... I'll put it under good. Now, there are some films... Actually, I take it back from only seeing 48. There's some films on here that aren't on this list. Like, there's a couple other Netflix films that I remember seeing. I think Tall Girl 2, my girlfriend had me watch, and that was just... Literally, I don't remember a single thing for that movie, so that probably tells you where it should go. There's also another one that had Mila Kunis in it that I actually thought was good. I didn't think it was great. I think it was just a good, like, political / drama kind of situation. I thought it was okay. But Do Revenge, I remember like enjoying. I don't say enjoying. I'll move it down the fine. I remember enjoying it. It wasn't anything special, but I thought the main lead, because it deals with the girl from Stranger Things, or at least that's where I remember her from. I thought, again, the two main girls had a good chemistry, and I thought overall the mystery and the slow realization of what's going on was fine. The certain plot reveals I don't think made entirely that much sense, and it just kind of revels in that, and I just didn't care for it. But again, if for a Netflix movie, I have to bring it up a little bit. Not much, but it's not terrible, right? I thought it was at least better put together than Black Adam, which is saying something. Look, Black Adam might have a better main lead, but yeah, the lows of Black Adam are definitely low. At least that one's more consistently mediocre. And there's some parts I enjoyed. All right, Morbius. I know some people are saying it's so good it's bad, but I didn't care for it that much. Oh, you know what? I'll give Samaritan this. I would say it's better, right? If I'm looking at like action movies in terms of like, or superhero films, I would say Samaritan is a better superhero film than Morbius. Morbius completely fails. I might move it to absolute garbage. I might, but it's not. I can't say that with a straight face. I'm moving it back down. Damn it. I was trying to be like, is there anything good? No, Jared Leto I don't care for. Matt Smith is way better in other things like Game of Thrones. Nope, I'm moving it back down. All right, Adam Project, moving you up. And I'm kind of moving you under It's Fine. It was a movie that I watched, had some good comedic beats. I think Black Adam had better comedic beats, but I'm not going to remember it. I think it's okay. The best thing is Ryan Reynolds and the kid's dynamic. Like, the kid is a young Ryan Reynolds, at least in the movie. Like, he's doing a very good impersonation. But beyond that, there's not much to it, rather than the time travel aspect. And there's a nice little family, not family, but kind of a little like, well, no, it is a family drama that's going on. But it's nothing that's going to pull you in to be like, oh man, don't you feel the feels? Like, I don't know, it didn't hit me all that much. And I feel like it was like more aimed at me, or like I feel like it could have been aimed at me, since I had a father passed away, and it's like, okay, getting that relationship, but I don't know, it just didn't click with me. So apparently this guy's doing Deadpool 3. Hopefully he does better, but it was fine. I'm never gonna go back to it. These films down here, I'm never gonna go back. Maybe I'll watch a clip of Black Adam, because there is one scene I actually did enjoy. I laughed really hard at, but not nearly as much as Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's easily the biggest surprise. I had no idea what the film was. It put a smile on my face. If you don't know, it's an amazing action film, an amazing comedy, amazing drama. Like, it has everything in it. There's horror aspects in the movie. There are jackass parts in the movie. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that should not work and yet somehow come together to make an incredible picture. It easily put a smile on my face, maybe having a great time when I left the theater, and highly, highly recommend it. Again, people talk about it a lot, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. All right, Troll. Now, this is a Netflix film about a giant monster. Now, if you know me, I love my giant monsters, as you can see here. This is bad. This is a paint by numbers, standard, like, really not much going for it sort of film. I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, what? No, that can't be right. No. Seriously, it takes shots straight from King Kong. Kong Skull Island. It takes shots from other movies. I've seen everything this movie has done before, and the effects are something from like a late 2000s movie. It's not that far ahead. There's some good shots, I'm not going to deny, but like there's others with the texture's good, but maybe the particles or some of the movement just doesn't nail it. Just isn't nailed. There's a military guy that just shows up and I'm like, okay, I don't care. And yes, I did watch this in the I did not watch the English dub. I know there's English dub. I just watched it on the base language. And again, like, the main female character tries to save the troll, and at that point the troll has killed so many people. They do a Gamera reference from the original Gamera movie, where he saves a small child. That's what I mean. Like, this thing borrows from so many monster movies to make its own, and I feel like it didn't do enough to make it feel like a Norwegian monster movie, right? Because the whole battle's in Oslo, which is fine, But, like, there's a sequence where they find out where it's like, oh, the knights 1,000 years ago, or I guess, not knights, sorry, but, like, the people, like, 1,000 years ago killed all the trolls. And I'm just sitting there like, how the freak did they do that? You're firing missiles at it, and you can't kill it. And before someone says, oh, they used the sun. How they use the sun? It's under the ground. Like, how? How did they kill all of them? It's one of those things where I think a greater explanation would be kind of worth it. Also, this thing is just walking around during the day, and you would assume it would, like, it's one of the things that I don't understand. Like, it can walk around during the day, and it's like, oh, the clouds are blocking it. Okay, well, fine. If the clouds are blocking it, right, then how is it able to consistently move around, right, at all? Like, how does this thing live, right? How does this thing not immediately die from the sun? Like, explain that to me. Like, it's laying on the ground. It has no situational awareness. It should immediately die. Like, if it just wasn't cloudy, right? So, I don't know. It's like, it needed more depth for the monster. It needed more depth for the main character. I feel like her dad is probably the most, but even then, I'm like, he's a crazy guy that then eventually gets killed for emotional impact, but I just didn't feel that. And there's a military guy who's just being a military guy. I don't know. They have a scene with a girl that just slaps another guy, and I swear to God, they took it from Reptilian. Like, there's so much stuff they borrow from other movies that they just repeat, and it's just, yeah, that was the film that was actually like, oh, this is gonna be interesting, and then, no, it's not. Oh, boy. Like, there was a scene from The Lost World of Jurassic Park where they have a thing in the back of the truck, and they just have this thing chasing it. I'm sorry. I know I'm saying a lot, but it's just, it keeps repeating. All right, Lightyear. Lightyear's fine. It's not good. I think it's an okay, but it's so jumbled. It's such a mess of a film. I feel like they were, like, obligated to make a Buzz Lightyear movie, but they didn't want to make a Buzz Lightyear movie because it's not as fun or entertaining. If there was again, people said this, but if there was going to be an action figure line, it's going to be on the cat. It's not going to be on him. He's the least interesting part of that movie. I do like the idea that he's having so much self-doubt and so much conflict about a situation that no one cares about or no one has great impact on. That I actually liked, and I wish it was addressed actually more directly, but also, like, the Zurg reveal just doesn't make sense given the toys and everything. So yeah, no, it's fine. I don't think it's good, but I think it's passable. I think the animation's still very good, and I think overall there's some good aspects you can pick apart from the movie, but it's stuff that Pixar itself has done better. Like WALL-E. WALL-E did, like, Lightyear better. Up did Lightyear better. So, Firestarter. A generic superhero film that I just didn't care for. I don't think it's god-awful, but I don't think Zac Efron brings it anything to save this movie. But what I do think saves Violent Night is David Harborough just being a legend. Is it a perfect film? No, but I think Violent Night is such a fun, entertaining action film that I think anyone watching it will just have a solid time. Like, truthfully, I had a great time watching Violent Night. Great action movie. Really, really well done in terms of the comedy with like Home Alone antics, just rated R. Like, there's some amazing laugh out loud sequences. It's one of the best movie theater experiences I've had this year watching this movie, so I highly recommend it watching with a family. Bullet Train. This was a good action film. I'm not gonna say that I was, like, in love with this movie, but I think it was good. I watched it on Netflix when it came out because I missed it on when it went to theaters, but I think it was a good time. I think it's overall better than Sonic 2, but I like the CBs and I like the morals of that a bit more. But I think if you love Bullet Train and, like, kind of more like a Quentin Tarantino style of talking and how everything kind of comes together, I think you would shoot this up your list more. If you kind of find that stuff annoying and how they keep repeating stuff, then it's going to go down. But I personally like where, like, the camera positions were. Like, there's some amazing shots, and there's definitely, like, okay, how are we going to film this next whole sequence and then have that, like, tie into another sequence? Like, there's a lot of really good, like, production design in terms of, and also, like, level of, like, camera work of what they're doing, and the action sequences are very good. So overall, I would put it as a good film, but for me, it's not as high as it could be, nor as low as it possibly would have been if it was put together even more poorly. Nope. This one's going to be weird. I like Nope a lot. I like the ideas of it, especially with the alien abduction angle to it. My problem with it is its slow first half. Like, when it gets to the... Oh, how do I put this? When it gets to the sequence where the alien makes its... the alien spaceship makes its grand entrance. I'll say that. Kind of be vague. I found it a bit slow, and I didn't find it as entertaining. Like, I didn't find, like, the dialogue, weirdly enough, to be as funny as it could be, like with Tremors. It takes a lot of inspiration from Tremors, but I don't think it's as good as Tremors. Because, again, I think that first half, it's building and building, and there's some good horror sequences, but I don't think it's, or I guess tension more so than horror. There's one scene that absolutely, like, made my brother lose his appetite. So, again, I think there are some light, sorry, not light, but there are a few sequences of intense horror in this that I think will affect people. But overall, like, the end sequence I enjoyed. So it's like, but there's so much depth in this movie that I loved having, like, in-depth analysis of it, because there's so much depth to it. I just wish it was funnier. I wish the first half was better in terms of, like, everything makes sense. I just wish the comedy was there. I'll put it at the top of good for right now. Death on the Nile, compared to Glass Onion, you could definitely tell this is a lower end murder mystery. I still had a fine. It was fine, but I don't think it's anything better than good, especially when you compare it. Like, Kenneth Branagh is great as a detective, as the lead detective Poirot, but compared to Glass Onion, you could tell the level of quality between the two. But I still think it's a good movie. I know, not good. Yeah, you know what? I'll say it's a good movie. Well, yeah, it's tough. It's good, or it's at the bottom of good or top of fine. That's where I kind of put it. I'll put it at the bottom of good for right now. What's not at the bottom of good is Puss in Boots. I cannot believe I am saying this, but Puss in Boots might be my favorite animated film of the year. That is insane to me, because I did not expect it going in. I thought, I'm just going to pull it. It's not going to be this Pinocchio. It's going to be the other Pinocchio. Puss in Boots has really good 3D, 2D hybrid, kind of like Spider-Verse, where stop motion, that's it. Stop motion animation for Pinocchio, the Guillermo del Toro version, I thought was exceptional. But again, I also thought Pinocchio was equally as emotional as Puss in Boots, which I never thought Puss in Boots would be emotional or interesting. But weirdly, the villain in Puss in Boots, I liked, is my favorite. It's probably the main... Not, I guess the main antagonist for Puss in Boots, I thought was probably my favorite antagonist of the year. I love the design. I love how he's actually not even in that movie that much, but it's just his presence and his intimidation factor alone made him such an interesting character. So, yeah, I love how they even had to tone him down in the poster, because in the movie he is horrifying and it's great. I love it, but... yeah, no, that was the biggest surprise of the year for me in terms of being quality. Next to another film, which is called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And this is easily one of my favorite unexpected surprises of the year. This is such a well put together movie that I am just like, I am shocked. I'll put it right under Pinocchio. I'm shocked by how much this murder mystery, or it's not really a murder mystery. It's more like, it's like kind of like a Scream, or I guess like a slasher where you're trying to figure out who the villain is while people keep dying. But again, I think, and the dialogue can be very, how do I put this? It's a lot of younger people, so the dialogue can be very, how do I put this? I don't know, grating after a bit. But that's the point of the movie, and it just gets better and better. Once you finally reveal what's going on, that was probably one of the hardest I've laughed in a film this entire year. I cannot express how much the twist in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies measures up to something like Glass Onion, or if not better. But that being said, I still think that even though it was very funny and it was kind of interesting to see where it was going, it was a little too grating in some areas, so it does bring it down a little bit, but I still think overall it was an unexpected delight, so I'll put it up there. Violent Night, I would probably say at a way better time. Yeah, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a better film, but Violent Night is something that I just had a great time. I'll put Bodies ahead of it. It's a better made film. Violent Night's just to me, a funnier overall film. And it does exactly what it needs to better, and it doesn't make the audience feel a little bit of pain going through it, if that makes sense. But that being said, I think that is worth it given the payoff in Bodies. Something that is not worth the payoff is Amsterdam. I did not like this movie at all. My girlfriend wanted to see it, and I thought this was a long, boring mess. I usually like period pieces and stuff, but no, this film was not good. It was not good at all. I saw it with my girlfriend, and has a great cast, but like, the movie's called Amsterdam, and Amsterdam's like a 10-minute section in the movie. It should have been called New York, because it's mainly about New York. I think that would have made it do better, but yeah, it's just in theory, I like the idea of what it is uncovering, and I like the fact that it is based on a true story, but I still think that overall it's more of just, you can tell what's going on a mile away. Like, probably a third way through this film, I already knew what was happening. It was just a slow reveal. I'm like, is there anything else? Is there something more? And there isn't. And that's probably the biggest downfall of this movie. A movie that didn't let me down, that I thought was actually pretty good, was The Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange 2, I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people didn't. They wanted more multiverse aspect. And to be fair, Everything Everywhere All at Once is the better multiverse movie by far. I'm not going to deny. But I will say that Multiverse of Madness, I enjoyed more than Wakanda Forever. I had a more emotional impact with Wakanda Forever, but the Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, I had a better time in terms of overall the story. I like probably Wanda. Wanda is the villain of the movie, and I thought that was such a great payoff from WandaVision with everything she went through and how she is slowly revealed to be the villain in that show. I mean, there's a worse villain with Agatha Harkness, but still, I thought she was definitely villainous, and I'm glad that it's slow reveal. It's like, oh yeah, no, she's the villain. She is absolutely the villain, and what she does in the horror aspects, I really enjoyed. I know the rest of my group that I went with thought it was more like a 6 or 7 out of 10, but I personally would give it more like an 8 out of 10. But yeah, no, I still enjoyed it. Werewolf by Night and the Guardians Christmas Special are better than either of these two, but to me, between the two, Multiverse Madness is one I would probably watch again. I don't think I would watch Wakanda Forever again. Not because I think it's a bad movie, I just think because it's more of a send-off to Chadwick Boseman and the amount of emotion that's in that movie. It's not one I'm like dying to see again, because it's like, oh, there's a lot to go through with that movie. All right, Downton Abbey, I enjoyed, and I thought was a solid film. I've barely seen any of the show, so going into this, and it was actually like we were doing this with my girlfriend was contracted to review the film, so I was like, oh sure, I'll be the person who's never seen Downton Abbey. And like the first 10 minutes, I was actively hating this movie, and by the end of this movie, I was thoroughly enjoying myself. It's just a nice, again, I want to see the show now because it's just a well-acted, well-scripted, just a great drama between an amazing cast of characters. Yeah, it kind of sucks now that I know how things are gonna go, but overall, it got me interested in the movie, and I still was incredibly invested in this whole cast, which for a movie with this many characters, especially coming in and essentially like the finale of this show, it's pretty astonishing to me that I was able to get hooked on so quickly and immediately enjoy it so much. But I thought it was a solid time. All right, we still got a ton of movies, so I'll kind of keep going. Jeepers Creepers, absolute trash. Saw that maybe not through the most legal means, but so many people were just shitting on it. I'm like, okay, I have to see it. Okay, I'm glad I didn't pay for it. Yeah, that's really bad. All right, Jurassic World Dominion. Has some good effects. I'll give it that. But overall, I don't think it's that good. I think it's pretty bad. I think that overall the dinosaur aspects feel like, okay, we need to add dinosaurs in this movie, just throw them in, and it doesn't really make sense. It's like, okay, you're gonna have dinosaurs that are going to be like, this brand new dinosaur, the Giga, oh god, what is it called? It's like the Gigasaurus or something like that. It's a thing bigger than the T-Rex, right? And it's like, okay, cool, you have this dinosaur. And you have the one, it's like they watched Ark and were like, hey, did you see the dinosaurs in Ark? We can add those to our movie, like the one with the long spikes. It's like, okay, cool, whatever. But I feel like the characters didn't really have anything to do. The fact they kept having characters do this, and it's just, why would the dinosaur respond to that? It would just eat your arm. There's some decent sequences with the chase sequence in Rome, or like the Quetzalcoatl, I think, takes down the plane. But other than that, it's not much, and no one dies. Wait, I'm trying to remember. I don't believe any one of the main cast died. I believe everyone lived, and they got Blue's kid. I'm 90% sure I'm pretty sure no one died. Maybe I'm wrong, but I even think everyone lived. Yeah. So there's that as well. I'm not saying you have to die, but I'm just saying I felt like it was kind of like, okay, this is a dinosaur movie. We're probably going to see someone. No, we're not. Okay, cool. All right. Top Gun Maverick, easily fantastic action blockbuster. People have been raving about it, and rightfully so. It was well shot, well done, especially with the jets that they actually flew, and Tom Cruise actually learning how to fly a jet. I thought the sequences in the sky were amazing. The music was really well done, and it fit well with the choreography and everything going in the air. Like, for how well you can tell where everything is and how the sequences are going, I thought was astonishing. I thought as well the sequences with what's his name? Rooster. Again, I thought Rooster and Tom Cruise character Maverick had a really great kind of like pseudo father-son relationship. And then also Val. Oh god, what's his name? Dang it, Val Kilmer. I want to say Val Kilmer. I thought his sequence, it was easily the like best, most emotional gut punch in the movie. I thought that it overall, right, like his exchange with Tom Cruise, Maverick, I thought that honestly left me teary-eyed, right? And I'm not even a big fan of the first Top Gun, but I thought that this was probably the best. Like, it's hard to think of a sequel that like comes back years later and does something this well. It would be like, oh god, I'm trying to think of something else similar to it. I mean, Jurassic World I really enjoyed, but I get it. It's more like a monster movie, so that's more out my alley. But it's not, Jurassic World's not as good as this movie. Like, this movie actually had emotional stakes and a great story and tension and really great action sequences. It had everything. The only thing that I guess I didn't care for as much was the love sequence, or the love love triangle, but Maverick's love interest. There we go. I thought that was okay, but overall, I still thought it was a good movie. Sorry, not good movie, a fantastic movie, and probably the best like blockbuster film of the year. All right, next up we got ourselves. I'm not moving Pinocchio. Hocus Pocus. All right, a lot of people didn't like this movie, and to be fair, it's not great, but I did find had some charming moments. There's some moments I laughed. There's some moments I genuinely had some good times with. Not gonna say it's a good movie. It's not. It's bad in a lot of aspects, but I think the main three witches bring enough to it and can bring enough comedy that overall I was fine. Is it as good as the original? No. Is it really just like an extension? Yes. This is kind of what your basic 30-year plus sequel is going to be. But the fact that the three witches, one, look very similar to how they did 30 years ago. Again, great makeup effects and everything like that. And also they had the energy. Sure, they weren't. I think the physical comedy of them like hitting each other and stuff isn't as there quite. But I thought their antics and their music and everything else, I thought that was good. You may notice I didn't talk about any of the kid characters because I didn't care about them. Honestly, I truthfully did not. But I thought that the witches were fine and bring it up to its fine tier. All right, next up. The Lost City. You know what? This was a good, charming, nice romantic comedy. I had a great time with this. This is easily going up to... There we go. It's a good movie. I thought it was a good time. There's a sequence with Brad Pitt that honestly was super well done in terms of the fight choreography and everything. The comedy of it, especially with Daniel Radcliffe, I thought was superb. And again, it's a nice romantic comedy that pays off very well. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really fun film. So again, my girlfriend took me to see that, and I was not disappointed. I had a great time with it. So again, if you want a good romantic comedy this year, The Lost City will not do you wrong. All right, Barbarian. Great horror film. Great horror film that came out this year. I mean, it's also some great comedic chops. Really came out of nowhere. Because I was like, oh, Barbarian, oh, what's it going to be? And again, the twists that occur in the movie just help. Oh my god, it's so good with like, oh, so this is what we're doing. Because it kind of, at the beginning, you're like, oh, this is going to be like, oh, two strangers have to share a, what is it? I'm trying to think of it. Have to shoot, I'm sorry. Have to share like a room, essentially. They both share a house, right? They both rented a house, but no, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier until you're like, what the hell is happening? And it's again, for what it is, I'm surprised by how good it is. Also, for how dark and how many unfortunate subjects this movie covers, I thought it did an exceptional job of going over everything. So I recommend it. It's a solid horror film in all respects. Probably the weakest aspect would be, how do I put this? How do I put this in the best way? The horror villain, right? I think, I don't know. There's some parts about that where I'm like, okay, how exactly does that work? And I'm not saying what the villain is, or it's not really the villain. We'll say main antagonistic force. I don't understand that antagonist, how the antagonist came to be, unless there's something, like there has to be some other mutation or something happening, because that person, that entity is both stronger, faster, and way better than I think someone would be given their situation, but that's me. I still had a great time. It's more nitpicking than anything else. But yeah, no, solid film, and also great comedy. This has some great laughs in it too. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw. I don't think it was the worst film of the year, but again, it was one of those films where it's like, oh, it's just killing. I still think like the bus sequence is decent, but yeah, the rest, and also there's a good sequence, because a lot of people are like trashing this film for like, was it a bunch of young kids going to a Texas town? It's like, oh, how? It's like, yeah, that part sucks. But I honestly think there's a good little moment between one of the main girls and this guy who like is a small town like mechanic. I honestly think there's a good sequence, like a little good scene between those two. Beyond that, I think the movie has no idea what the fuck it's doing. It's a terrible knockoff of Halloween. Like, it's bad. It's truly, truly bad. Is it absolute garbage? No, because I think it's better than a lot of the worst horror films and slasher films. But is it anything good? No. Is it anything fine? No. Is it the very bottom of bad? Absolutely. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but I will say there's maybe like a scene or two where I'm like, I can see where they're going with this. There's a good bloody sequence. But yeah, the revenge plot line is stupid. A lot of the kids should die for what they did. I'm not gonna lie. And also the ending is definitely playing more comedic. Like there's a part of this movie that wants to be serious, and another part of this movie that is purely comedy, parody even of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, I don't know. Uncharted, bad video game film. That as someone who, funny enough, again, just look, Uncharted was never my franchise. I never got a PlayStation until the PlayStation 4. So again, it's kind of like going back to really touch any of the any Uncharted game. I can still say, just as someone who's like a more of a third party, way better way better in terms of like those games than this movie. Again, it's especially with my biggest problem is not actually what's his name. Shoot. It's not dang, I can't think of his name. What is his name? Spider-Man. I can't think of his name. Shoot. Tom Holland. I don't understand. I completely forgot him. Tom Holland I thought was fine given what he was given. Mark Wahlberg is the reason why I truly hate this film. Because he just acts like Mark Wahlberg. That's it. That's all he does. He acts like Mark Wahlberg. And it sucks. And it's kind of just one of those things where it's like, why? Why are you in this movie? What are you doing? Like, you're just playing Mark Wahlberg. So, that brings it down quite a bit. Yeah. Alright, next up. Turning Red. I actually thought Turning Red was pretty good. Now, the animation of it, now seeing like Puss in Boots and stuff like that, because the facial expressions and the animation were the thing that brought this up, because I thought the storyline was fine. But I don't think it's terrible. I think it's a fine or a good animated film with some great facial animations and some good comedy. But even like, I watched it with me and my girlfriend, and my girlfriend was like, laughing at a pretty good amount during this entire film. So if she had a good time with it, she liked it way more than me. For me, the problem is I get why they do it. They play up like the mother's antics, but still, I thought it was kind of like a bit overbearing, a bit overdone. But yeah, no, overall, I still thought that it was okay. I'm not okay. I thought it was good, especially with like the final sequence. Like the final sequence is a play on one of my favorite monster movies. So I can't be mad about that. And again, the family coming together, I enjoyed. Again, is it Pixar's best? No. Is it better than Lightyear? Hell yes. Oh, absolutely. I'll defend Turning Red over Lightyear any day. But anyway, let's keep going. Halloween Ends. Bad implementation, but overall, I thought I think it had a way better idea of a storyline, right, for Michael Myers. But again, it has to then turn into Michael Myers versus, that, oh god, what's her name? It turns into how do we kill Michael Myers in the last 10 minutes with him going on a rampage, which is not what the movie entirely is set up to be. That being said, they should have set this idea for the movie up like 2 movies ago, or in the last 2 films they should have. But I don't think it's I like the thought process and the characters' overall transition. So I will actually bring it up. I'll bring it up here, because at least it's trying something new, but I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's still bad. I still think it's pretty bad. But, Laurie, that's it. Michael Myers battle with Laurie. It's like, okay, we need to have him, fight Laurie, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, but you had a better movie with this other character that, again, you should have set up, and you should have not, you should have had it, like, way better implemented, and also the love story in that, or, like, the love interest in that, I guess I could say, just doesn't really work. I feel like you could have made it darker, more interesting, more fascinating, but they kind of went with the, hey, we still need a final conclusion. All right, cool. You know what's also we got a great conclusion? Prey. Absolutely. The first third is a little slow, but once it gets going, one of my favorite sequences of the year is the Predator versus the French fur trappers. Oh my god, that was not only a great action sequence, but hilarious. There's some parts of that where I was laughing so hard at some of the fights. And again, I feel like the main protagonist, she does a great job going toe-to-toe with the Predator. And I love how she doesn't win necessarily because she is better at combat, because she's not. She falls and fails so many times, but because she learns where other people don't. That's what I find so fascinating, is you have so many characters repeating the same mistakes because they're like, well, of course this is gonna work, and it doesn't. But she actually takes the time to see what's going on and to try to figure out a plan to take on the Predator. Now, is it perfect? No. Maybe the physics of the axe with the chain maybe not be perfect, but again, it's more of an action film. It's like the Predator jumping through the trees. I don't think something that big and that heavy could easily do that, but especially with a bunch of dead wood. But suffice to say, I had a great time with it, and I thought, especially the final 2/3 of it, I thought just got better and better. The Predator fighting a bear is not something I wanted or ever thought I needed, but is something I'm glad I received. It was so damn good. All right. Orphan, First Kill. Let's get to that. You know what? This was also one of those films where, like, I am surprised by how much I'm enjoying this. Is it great? No, no. Is this stupid? Absolutely. But it's a fun stupid, and it's well done, well shot. And the fact they had the woman who played the girl in the first movie come back and be like, oh, yes, we want you to play the girl again. I've grown up. Still, we're going to have you do it. Okay. And it turned out as good as it did. And I love how they took it in a way different direction than the first movie. If you've not seen the first Orphan, it's not a great film, but it's a good horror film. This, I think, is good for other reasons. I talked to someone at my work about this movie because they recommended it to me because they had a great time with it. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. Especially after the kill count with Orphan. I was like, okay, I'll see. I'll see how Orphan kills. Or, sorry, First Kill does. And it is shocking with the direction it took itself in. It's not great, but it's better than it has any right to be. So, yeah, I'll leave it here. You know what? I'll bring down Death on the Nile a little bit. Because, again, there are some parts I could definitely see it being a little weaker. I'll move some of these movies around. I don't want to have too many in one section. So, let's get to the final movie. The Menu. Menu was great. I'm not going to even deny it. Menu was a, fantastic film. All the actors played it very well. It's probably one of the best put together films. Ralph Fiennes is an outstanding performance as a chef that just lost it with the rest of his with the rest of the kitchen that works with him. Just wonderful critique on the food culture and critics and everything. Like, you could take this movie and just switch it over to movies or other types of not genres, but other types of entertainment, or a lot of different subjects where you could fill a lot of these characters in with that similar role and still have a amazing movie. But I thought they just did it so well with the food culture and the food presentation and everything like that. I had a great time with this. I'm not going to deny. I had a fantastic time with The Menu. But anyway, I Want to Dance with Somebody, I think it's just fine. I don't think it's anything out there. It's essentially a biopic on, oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. She was in The Bodyguard. Oh my God, I can't believe I am forgetting her name. What is her name? Whitney Houston. Again, solid movie in terms of it's like, okay, it gets the basics down, but it also sugarcoats a lot of the stuff. I kind of looked up more about Whitney Houston. I'm like, oh, they didn't cover that. Or, oh, they kind of didn't touch that subject matter. Interesting. I feel like if you're looking for a better version of this movie, it's Rocket Man. But I think it's fine. I don't think it's anything great or good. But I think it's well put together enough that it's just... How do I put this? That it's just... it's a good biopic. No, it's a fine biopic on Whitney Houston. I just wish that it was shot more interesting. I just wish that, a lot of the camera movement just seems flat. What really sells it is the characters. I think the performance of the characters are way better than they have any right to be. I thought they all did a great job, especially with the material they were given. It's just, I wish the film had more style to it, more energy to it. It just doesn't really have that. So it's not as good as a Bohemian Rhapsody even, or Rocket Man, or any of those. So yeah, it's brought down quite a bit. Now let's try to even out this whole list, right? Alright, so Morbius. I'll put it under so bad. I'll put it under, because it is bad, but you can get some entertainment. I think it's more bad funny because of the after effects of Morbius, rather than Morbius itself. Jeepers Creepers is the worst. 355 is down there. Pinocchio's right there. Any of these films I would bring down for absolute garbage. I'll bring Texas Chainsaw Massacre down, and I'll bring Amsterdam down. That way it's the 5. Yeah, these are probably the 5, if you're looking for, failing epically at what you're trying to do. Oh, you know what? Firestarter kind of fits into that. Yeah, I'll include Firestarter. There we go. Uncharted, you're technically fine. It's just nothing, oh, no, you're not fine. It's just another action film adventure, and it doesn't necessarily feel like Uncharted, but... whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm good with this. Go with the ambulance. Troll being there, that's fine. You didn't have camera work that made me just not like it. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't want... should I move Father Sue down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll move Orphan down It's Fine, because again, I feel like that might be of a certain taste. I'm trying to make sure it's nice and even, and I feel like this makes it a little more even. Okay. Chippendale, yeah, that's fine. I think it's good, but I definitely think there's enough problems in it. Sonic, yeah, that's good. Lost City, Bullet Train, Turning Red. I like Sea Beast more than Turning Red, honestly. Definitely like Praying more, and Nope. Wakanda Forever. Wait a bit. Hold on. You know what? Actually, hold on. I think under good movie, I think the Marvel films are in the good tier. I would put Prey as very good just because I love that, like, final two... the final two-thirds in the movie are great. The first part of the movie is good, but I think it's just enough to get under very good. Nope, I think is, again, it's so well crafted, but again, I think it just needed a bit more to keep people interested in the film. Barbarian, again, great horror film. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7. Ooh, we could bring one up. Oh, I'm definitely bringing Nick Cage up. Let's bring him up to peak cinema. Absolutely. The top tier of Nick Cage. Pinocchio is very good. Yeah, I think that's where I'd kind of leave everything. You know, oh, no. I'd probably put Pinocchio. The craft of Pinocchio with the stop motion and the story itself, especially compared to the other... I didn't even talk about this one. I'm just not going to. It's just mediocre. Not mediocre. It's just painful, modern day, not Disney live action remake. But this one does such a good job. I think the menu is... story is better and all the characters. Top Gun... Oh, RR I think is way better in terms of action. But I think it's condensed. Violent Night is, to me, more palatable in the runtime. Though RR is probably the better action film of the year. Or probably the best pure action film of the year. If we're just going by raw action. It's just insane. Yep. Nick Cage at the top. Sounds good. Menu. I would probably put Top Gun a little higher up. Batman a little lower. All Quiet and Everything. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is my favorite film of the year. Have not seen Fablemans. Have not seen Banshees of Inisherin. Have not seen Northman. I know those movies could overtake it, but that's where I'm putting it. Top Gun right there. That's fine. Glass Onion, I think, does a murder mystery to near perfection. So I'll put it right there. Top Gun, I think the action sequences may bring it up a little bit more. But again, these two could be interchangeable for me. Puss in Boots, I think is probably slightly better. The Batman, so again, I love the aesthetic, but again, I feel like the last third, where Puss in Boots, I really don't have too many flaws. Maybe the biggest issue with Puss in Boots is, how do I put this? There's so many characters. I kind of wish I spent a little bit more time with like the action, like the Jack with his thumb, right? Oh God, Jack Horton. I kind of maybe spent a little bit more time with him, or a little bit more time with Puss interacting with the wolf character. Like, that would have been better. But overall, that's where I kind of put all the films for the year. Yeah, I think that's a good list. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Yeah, I'm good. Is there any films that are so bad it's fun? Is there anyone I would move? No, not really. Not like... like, none of the films in Just Bad or Absolute Garbage, I would say, are fun watches. Right? I wouldn't say that any of them. So Bad it's fun, right? And I'll bring those two up, because I wouldn't recommend Morbius, though. It's more the memes of Morbius than... Sorry, Morbius, I'm bringing it down. I don't think... The after credit scene, though, is so god-awful. Fuck it. Yeah, the only film I would honestly say, other than like Pinocchio True Story, I wouldn't say Morbius is so fun. It's more of the aftermath of Morbius is so fun, really, than the movie itself. And what you learn about Jared Leto and stuff. But, hey, that's where I'm going to put everything. Oh, by the way, Jeepers Creepers is the worst. We're going backwards from that list. Why? That's how I'm doing it. Anyway, yeah, no, that's going to be it. All right, so that's my list. Let me know what you guys think. This has been Greyshot17 listing his favorite and least favorite films of the year. And, yeah, I'll see you guys most likely next year for another list of all the films I managed to see. Because, by God, there are a lot. But I love watching movies, so again, it's always fun to see what is out and partaking in all of this. Because again, I love horror, I love comedies, I love animation, and I love branching out to like romantic comedies to try something new. But as you can see through the bottom of the list, there's still plenty of movies I missed, like Hustle, White Noise I need to check out, Vengeance. But hey, I'll get to them another time. But let me know if I missed something you really like down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and before y'all go, let me give a special shout out to Patreon supporters, Joey G240, Milam, Big Cooch, Aphyria, Ace, Pyro Shark, Tony B95, Epic Pleb. Thank you all for your incredible support and helping me grow my channel and support my channel and everything I do. Thank you, and to the rest of you, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.